Good evening, wonderful family. Welcome to One Love Consciousness Movement and First Unity Spiritual Campus Midweek Connection. I'm just grabbing my bottled water here. Keep this water flowing. Keep yourself hydrated, y'all. It's gotten hot, hasn't it? It's gotten mighty warm. We welcome you into our Midweek Connection. As always, it's great to be with you. Catch the middle of the week here. Get over what is termed in the United States Hump Day, and get over this hump and on moving toward the weekend. We share on Sundays, and then we share Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, early morning meditations, and then of course evening meditations from First Unity Spiritual Campus on Wednesdays at 6 p.m. And those have been virtual lately instead of being in person, but we're going to be getting in person here pretty soon. A lot of work still being done at our new location. Super excited about all of that. Excited about what's happening in the world in general. Definitely excited about what's happening in our world as we continue to grow and glow and flow with the pure presence. We continue to expand our consciousness so that we are not just saying words about expanding and becoming more awakened, more enlightened, more connected to the Christ consciousness that is within us, more connected to that pure essence of the divine that is within us, not just saying the words, but actually putting into action and practice those things. As we've said before, practice may not make perfect, but it certainly makes permanent, or seems to make more permanent in the minds and in the brains of human beings. And so what we practice becomes a habit, and what becomes our habit ultimately builds our habitat. And so we want to always be concentrating on practicing higher ways of thinking. I believe there's a spiritual solution for every single problem. Even when we go through frustrations and challenges, and all of us do, sometimes we get tired. Lately, I have experienced what it is to be tired, or emotionally, physically, going through a transition such as we've gone through. Sometimes we get tired, get a little fatigued because of what's happening in the world of politics and government and inflation and all of the things that are taking place around the world. We can sometimes feel exhausted because of the challenges that we see, especially people like myself and like all of you who study the art of love, unconditional love and compassion, and then we see what's happening over in Palestine. We see what's happening in Gaza. We see what's taking place in the Ukraine, what's happening in other parts of Africa and in the Middle East where there's still war. There's still fighting, people fighting over land, people fighting over position, people fighting over power. I love how Bob Marley says that when the power of love overcomes the love of power, we will find a true state of peace, and I agree with that. And that's one of the reasons that we espouse a philosophy here of one love and one heart. We believe in constantly reminding ourselves of joy, love, and peace. Those are the high vibrations that we intend to continue to promote. I have noticed over this last year, especially during the spring, and with what's happening in regards to one of the candidates for president being on trial, the solar eclipse that took place back in April, all of the things that continue to happen with the moon, with the planets, with the stars, talking about this hurricane season here in Florida being one that could become pretty volatile. When you start hearing those kinds of things as sort of an uptick, there's a group of people in the world who sort of kind of crop up and find other reasons to once again begin to talk about the second coming of Christ, or Jesus' second return, in a negative way, like sort of in a fearful way. This is something that's been regurgitated over and over again my entire life. I saw a meme not too long ago. In fact, I think it was put up on social media because a lot of these things started running around social media again. Yes, this is it. With the solar eclipse happening, Jesus is coming again. There was a minister in Africa who actually said that Jesus was going to come again on the day of the solar eclipse. And then when it didn't happen, he told everyone that Jesus changed his mind because that minister in particular had fasted and prayed. And so Jesus decided to hold back. I see these things going on, and I don't want to counter that because I'm not interested in getting involved with that energy. But I would like to share with you, and I've talked around this over the years, but I wanted to share with you One Love and First Unity, and I don't want to say that everybody involved with One Love or involved with First Unity believes this way, but the approach that our ministries take when it comes to this particular subject. And I want to give room to this with this simple opening line. You are the second coming of Christ. Third coming, fourth coming, fifth coming, sixth coming, on down the line. In fact, St. Paul actually wrote and talked about Jesus being, actually it may have been Peter in the book of Acts, Jesus being the firstborn among many. And what tends to happen is that these great lights and way showers that have come throughout history tend to get put on pedestals, and that was never their intention. It's not the intention of the source that continues to send these messengers to us, but it tends to happen. And I think it's important for us who are aware of this to continue to point this out, that you and I are just as capable of having this supernatural, powerful, enlightened experience. It's just as possible for us as it was for Muhammad, as it was for Jesus, for Siddhartha Gautama, known as the first Buddha, as it was for Krishna, as it was for Lao Tzu. The list goes on and on and on of many people throughout time who have experienced this level of enlightenment. It's just as possible for us as it was for them. This is why I constantly remind us of our divinity. I want to constantly hold the mirror up in front of you to see your own divine nature and to recognize and to realize once again, keep this ever before us, that even the term Christ is a terminology, not a name. It's not Jesus' last name. It's actually a terminology to try to explain the essence or anointing or the power and energy with which Jesus operated. And all of us have access to that. In fact, pat yourself on the chest and say, I have access to the same power that Jesus did. Even in the Christian church, there's talk of being filled with the Holy Spirit. We could essentially say that that's what it would mean to become Christed. To be filled to overflowing with the Spirit really just means that you have upticked and upgraded your entire being to have that conscious contact with this divine presence that's within you. There's nothing good that will ever be withheld from you. It's all given to us. But if we're not aware of it, we're not aware that we can use it. Again, I love how Rantiade, when she was with us on Mother's Day at First Unity, I love how she shared that if you have a first-class ticket, let's just say, and I'm going to use this as just words and fiction. If I have a first-class ticket to Edinburgh, Scotland, I'm using that one because I love Scotland. I have a first-class ticket to Edinburgh, Scotland. It's a long flight. And if I'm not aware of what benefits come along with that first-class ticket, I will arrive at the destination, but I'll miss out on some opportunities along the way. You, my friend, have a first-class ticket to this, to fully integrate yourself into this full awareness of your Christed nature. And arriving at heaven on the other side, whatever that is, and none of us knows what it's going to be like on the other side. None of us have been there. Even those who have had what we call near-death experiences that supposedly flatlined and went into another iteration, even they spoke of great light. Some of them see some kind of visions, but they can't even tell us really fully what they've experienced. They do the best that they can. So all of us have access to a wonderful established situation on the other side. So we may arrive at that destination, but what happens if we don't understand the power of the journey that we have, the power that we have in this life to conquer our fears, to conquer lack, to conquer limitations, to really truly love and embrace ourselves, to actually have a peaceful journey. I wouldn't want you to miss out on that. So I sort of feel like a messenger, almost an ambassador of heaven that has come to say, hey, use all of the benefits of your first class ticket. Use them, every one. You get maybe an extra meal. You get extra drinks. You get access to the lounge as you wait for your flight. You get access to comfortable seating, an extra blanket, pillows. You get what I'm saying. And I want to share that this evening when I'm talking about the subject, you are the second coming of Christ. And so I wrote it this way. Have you ever thought that maybe we've been tricked into waiting around for Jesus to come back when really the pure presence Jesus operated in is already inside of us? And maybe this is what it means in the Gospels, where it talks about that light, or the light that shines in darkness, and men, human beings, comprehended it not. It's not that the light's not shining, because the light is shining. It's ready to shine even into the shadow spaces of your life. But the comprehension may be the issue. Again, why Jesus said, be born again so that you can see. Your eyes can be opened to the kingdom of God that he had already told all of them was within. So turning within is what's the most important thing. But have you ever thought that maybe the message of look for Jesus is actually a trick, and that we should, instead of trying to look outside of us, we should allow that light to shine within us? The pure presence that Jesus operated in is the same presence that is within you. This is why even in the unity movement, where it is said that Jesus is the way shower, I love that terminology really the best. That Jesus is the way shower, but he's not showing you to a way that you can't access and utilize. He's actually doing the opposite. He's pointing you in the direction of all that's possible. But if you're not aware of it, if you don't allow yourself to be enlightened, to become filled with, saturated with the Holy Presence, what tends to happen is that we don't take advantage of all of these benefits. This is why I want to remind us all of the time that love is who I am, gratitude is my attitude, abundance is my nature, and well-being is my birthright. Some of the benefits of having an enlightened spirit is being able to access the energy that makes it possible for you to receive all of the beauty that life has to offer you, so that you can begin to truly live in a state of perpetual abundance, in a state of perpetual peace, in a state of perpetual joy and love, and live a life in that, live your best life now. So often we have been taught to either wait for Jesus to return in bodily form, or wait until we go to heaven to actually enjoy life. This is just a life is just to be survived. I'm just a pilgrim passing through, and when this life is over and I'm no longer tempted by the devil, I'll have heaven. Well, it sounds like hell to me. But if you'll put your faith in what is possible instead of these ideas that keep us on a lower level, keep us essentially tricked and duped, waiting around for the Jesus person to show back up. If we'll access the same presence and power that Jesus operated with, we can access all of the benefits that Jesus himself walked with. What if I told you, and many of you already do this, but I wanted this to go on record. What if I told you to stop looking outside of you for salvation? The word salvation in Greek is the word sozo, and it means to be rescued, to be delivered, to be given freedom. And what if I told you to not look outside of you to any religion or religious figure or even sacred figure for your salvation, but instead look within you for that divine spark? And check this out. A spark only becomes a flame when you give it breath of life. A spark can be fanned into a flame, but you need to be willing to breathe into it the breath of life. I'm reminded of the Genesis story here, where it says that God created humankind out of the dust of the ground, but it was just a shell until God breathed life into that dust, that dirt shell, and it became a living soul. You have within you the spark of the divine. Are you fanning it into flame? If you're not fanning it into flame, then you're not giving it all of the potential that it has. This is what I believe it means when it talks about us stirring up the gift that's within us. Stir it up Stir up that gift. Stir up that living sozo, salvation. Rescue yourself and deliver yourself from, give yourself freedom from the limitations that have been put on us, not only by the limited conditions that are put on us by the people who really, they say they love us, and they do. They love us, but many have learned to live out of fear instead of out of faith. Not just the limitations from them, but the limitations from government, the limitations from religion, the limitations from society. Remove yourself from the chaos of competition and comparison and move yourself into a high level of freedom by expanding through the salvation that's frankly within you. That sozoing that is happening on a regular basis. So look within you for that divine spark and then fan it into flame. If you've ever tried to start a campfire, if you get a spark going, then you have to give it a little breath. It's almost like CPR. Christ presenting resurrection power, or Christ's power resurrects CPR. Christ's essence power resurrects us, or it reinvigorates us, or gives you that extra push and causes that expansion within you. It's pretty wild to think about the idea that the very beingness that I am yearning for, that I'm eagerly awaiting, I'm looking forward to or desiring, I can make conscious contact within. So I wrote it this way. It's pretty wild to think about. The very being you are yearning for is also eagerly awaiting your recognition and conscious contact. St. Paul again says, this same presence that raised up Christ from the dead dwells within you and is waiting for you to make contact with it. This very presence is eagerly awaiting you as much as you're looking for it. But many of us have been taught to seek outside of us. This is why Muji says the place you're looking for is the place from which you are looking. It's all an inside job. It always has been. Bringing us back to the title of this evening's subject. You are the second coming of Christ. You are the Christ nature. Pat yourself on the chest and say, I am the Christ, a child of the living God. There are people who will think that that is blasphemous. It's actually the antithesis to blasphemy. It's the opposite. To say that you are Christ is it's actually to give respect and honor to the God class that you are. When you say you are a son or a daughter of God, it delights the heart of God. If my children tell other people I'm their daddy and they do it with pride, they do it with courage and confidence, I love that. How much more do you think the Father, Mother, God loves that when God's children, us, do the same thing? Even, again, I'm quoting St. Paul a lot this evening. I feel St. Paul's like in the room. Even St. Paul said to copy or to imitate God as dear children. You have that essence stamped on your DNA. You are the second coming of Christ already. So remember this, the place you are looking for is the place from which you are looking. It's an inside job. So lastly, instead of waiting around for some kind of future event, in other words, here's the question, why stand you here gazing? Why do you stand here looking up? Oh, I know. It says look up for your redemption draweth nigh, but when it's saying look up, it's asking you to go into the upper room. The upper room is your mind. Go into the upper room and wait for the promise of God to descend into your upper room, because when your mind shifts, so will you. You'll talk a different talk. That's what it means to speak in other tongues. You'll begin to raise the dead and work miracles. You'll begin to move mountains. You'll begin to shift your whole life when you go into the upper room and you wait for the promise of the source. And you'll shift your whole being. And this is the second coming of the Christ nature that is waiting, just waiting to unfold as you. So don't stand here gazing up into a literal sky. Instead, go into the clouds, split the eastern sky, split the clouds within your own mind, and allow that light to shine in and allow that connection, that conscious contact. This is what I believe it's talking about when it's talking about heaven and earth reconnecting. This is what I believe is happening, is that we're in the process of bringing the heaven and the earth together. When you bring your mind, your body, and your material beingness in conscious contact with the Spirit, this is what happens. You reconnect heaven and earth, and you end up in a Garden of Eden all over again, as it was intended. Because the alienation is not real. The alienation is in our own minds and mindsets. The moment we are rescued, sozoed, saved, delivered from this lower than small or playing at small mindset, the moment we're delivered from that is the moment we are translated into the beings of powerful light that we already have the capability of being. Instead of standing gazing into the skies, we should focus on recognizing and connecting with the Christ that's already alive and well inside of us. Remember, this whole time as we've been chatting, I'm aware that many of you already have this as a belief system maybe for your life. But I want to remind us constantly to be coming back into contact with this as a truth. That Christ is not a person. Christ is not Jesus' last name. Christ doesn't belong to Christianity. Christ in you is your hope of glory, and when you step into your Christedness, you will begin to diminish the crisis that you've been in, the identity crisis. You'll shift out of that, and you will start to carry within, well, you already carry it within you, but you'll actually fan into flame that spark of divinity that's within you, the DNA of God that's within you. You'll begin to operate as a spiritual being, having a temporary human experience and expression. But you'll begin to impress on the world through the expression of Christ. Love, joy, and peace, and all of the fruits of the Spirit. Patience, kindness, meekness, humility, grace, all of these things will begin to flow from your life. So, in summation for this evening, number one, consider the idea that waiting for Jesus to return is really a deception and a distraction. Jesus doesn't need to come back. Jesus did his part. He asked before he left that they would recognize their oneness and start to do their part. He said, man, I've been the light of the world. Why don't y'all light something up for once? I did my part. I mean, they even hung me on a cross, killed me. How about you take up your own cross, metaphorically, of course, and follow me? So consider the idea that just sitting and waiting for Jesus to return is a deception and a distraction that's keeping us from our true nature. Number two, turn inward and discover the divine presence within your own soul and self. There's nowhere else to go, nothing else to be, just to allow to unfold. Number three, Christ is already within you, waiting for you to recognize and connect, make conscious contact with it. And number four, the spiritual journey is about awakening to the present reality of Christ's presence that is already within. One more time. The spiritual journey is about awakening to the present reality of Christ's presence that is already within us. This, my friend, is the gospel. This, my friend, is the good news. And the good news is the bad news was wrong. You have never been separate from God in reality, even if you were separate from God in your minds. But you can be renewed by the Spirit, in the spirit of your mind, and you can transcend and then transform into the fully developed being that you truly are. All right? All right, my friends. Hey, and listen, if you hear noise in the background, it's because the family is here. I'm doing all of my midweek connections right here in our house right now. Again, we're still in the process of being in transition, but it's a wonderful way for us to connect each week. It's more of an intimate thing. It's almost like inviting you over to the house to hang out. And I hope that you are getting some kind of a value added to your life as a result of these check-ins and these times to be together. I hope that you're experiencing, I'm experiencing an upgrade and an uptick personally, my own personal feeling in our meditations, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays. And then, of course, Wednesday evening, this is our midweek connection. And then provided by our First Unity Spiritual Campus is our meditation virtual right now at 6 p.m. on Wednesdays. And you're invited to be a part of all of those. On Sundays, this Sunday, we are in the process right now. Literally, as we are speaking, there's still work being done at our current new location to make sure our technology is in place to be able to live stream to you. There's still going to be some things that will need to be done, some tweaking to be done with that live stream. But again, my fingers are crossed, and I'm confessing that it's going to be completed to the degree we need it to be live from our new location, First Unity Spiritual Campus, at 11 o'clock this Sunday. Those of you who are in the Tampa Bay area, St. Pete area, we will restart our 8:30 devotional service this Sunday. It's not live streamed, but it will be in person. 8:30 at our devotional service. It's a more traditional Unity service. And then, of course, 10 o'clock here for One Love, our virtual gathering on Sunday. I love you all so much, and I thank you. I thank you for supporting. Continue to support financially. There's bills that need to be paid. There's things that need to be done in order for us to remain in play here. And so thank you for considering making a contribution. It's a tax-deductible contribution. And I hear the music getting started, so I'm going to get up out of here now. Go and make it a great day because you can. I'll see you in the morning. Peace.